Okay, welcome to the lesson on algebraic expressions. This will be our first lesson of the new year. This starts in our second booklet, so you're going to need your second booklet, Unit 3, but the page number is page 349. Okay, here we go. Lots of vocabulary in this lesson. The first, we have variable, algebraic expression, algebra, coefficient, and define a variable. So I'm going to go through this rather quickly, and we'll talk about each one. A variable is a symbol that represents an unknown quantity. Sometimes we use like x, y, a. It's just representing a quantity or a value, and sometimes we're just trying to find out what it is, or sometimes we're given what that value is. The next one is an algebraic expression. Sometimes such as n plus 2 is an expression that contains variables, numbers, and at least one operation. Algebraic expression is usually what I see is when we take a variable and we either add, subtract, multiply, or divide a number to it. Sometimes it's more than one variable, sometimes it's just one. So, for example, n plus 2, that would be an example of an algebraic expression. The word algebra is basically utilizing variables and algebraic expressions. A coefficient is when we are multiplying a variable to a number. And so when we see the number 6d, the 6 is the coefficient. Okay, it's still an algebraic expression, but 6 now becomes what we call as a coefficient. It's the number that's being multiplied to the variable. And when we're chosen to define a variable, basically is when you choose a variable to represent an unknown quality or quantity, sorry. So it's like, well, how many marbles does he have? And the question that, we're going to let m represent the number of marbles. So it would be m is equal to the number of marbles. There's an E in there. Okay, so the idea here is we have defined a variable. Okay, so let's get in with our first problem. Our first problem is number 1. It is found on page 350. And what we're going to do on number 1 is we are going to evaluate. And evaluate means basically we are just going to take what we're given. In this case, we're given n equals a negative 4. And we're going to place it into our problem, which is 2 times the quantity n plus 3. So some of you might think, oh, we got to do our parentheses first. And you're right. But before we can do the parentheses first, we got to take our value for n and place it in there. So our value is going to be negative 4. And then we're going to add 3. And when we're done, we're going to multiply 2. So first you are going to do the parentheses first, and you're going to have negative 4 plus 3, which gives us a negative 1. You're still going to have parentheses, but they're going to mean multiplication. And then we just figure out, well, what is 2 times negative 1? It is negative 2. And what I just did there was to evaluate this algebraic expression by placing the value of n in to get a negative 2. Okay, another one that looks almost very similar. Same idea. If you take 8w minus 2v, then they tell you what w is and what v is. You evaluate it. Well, if w is 5, it's 8 times 5. If v is 3, it's going to be 2 times 3. Okay, so I go through and I look and say, okay, well, I got to do some multiplication before I do some subtraction. So I'm going to take 8 times 5. We get 40. And we get 2 times 3, which is 6. And now all I need to do is subtract 40 minus 6. And what I have here is I'm going to have 34. Okay, so go ahead and